Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of You Haven't Seen That. I'm Isaac.
I'm Alva.
And we're recording in our brand new living room studio.
Woo!
I'm really excited about this. I'm actually nervous about it.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know. It's one thing to have everything like in, the hype studio. And not that we don't like going there. It was just a matter of we had to drive over there. And then if we want to do these ones, it's like to drive over there.
You mean the scheduling part of it?
Yeah. So it got a little bit tough, and we ended up buying like kind of some gear to connect to our laptop and stuff like that. But in the end, through Alva's wisdom, she's like, hey, you know what? Get the good stuff.
You should have got the good stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I know. And here we are with some solid ass equipment because we want our listeners, however many there are of you, let us know. In the comment section, in the DMs. I'm so nervous. No, we wanted it to sound good. We wanted it to sound great. And here we are with my golden tones and Alva's
Ooh.
burpy ass.
Oh, I wasn't burping.
We don't have animals to bark, but we do have the cat that we had to tell him to calm down because he was rubbing all up against the mic. It's good equipment, but it doesn't block out the noise of cats.
Not yet.
Anyways, I'm rambling, as I usually am.
We'll cut that out.
Hey, I'm editing this. I'm leaving in my ADHD.
Okay.
It's part of the show.
That's fine.
If you're just listening to this for the first time, why? Listen to the other stuff so we explain what it is. No, I'm kidding. I'll tell you what the show is about. This is the show where Alva and I, husband and wife, go through that list that everybody has, that growing list of movies that everyone else is surprised that you haven't seen. That's asking the question. You haven't seen that?
Dun, dun, dun.
Speaking of dun, 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 we recorded our first 2 episodes, about a month ago now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then life happened, and I finally got down to editing it. And, they came out these previous 2 weeks. And I told Alva,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, we need to like get on top of this because do you know what's right around the corner? Halloween, October, spooky season. And so here we are. Our second movie. I was going to say first movie. Second movie.
No, second movie.
Yeah. Is a scary movie, a spooky movie, a movie that actually kind of was it helped with the creation of this podcast. Did you know that, Alva?
I did.
So if you don't follow me on social media, I'm at Forehead Films on Instagram. That's FOREHED Films. And on there, I do little movie reviews of movies that had just came out. And part of those videos that I wanted to do was a segment, which is now the name of our podcast. You haven't seen that because when we were hanging out with our nieces, Insidious Red Door had just came out. And they were like, Uncle, have you, did you go see that movie? You're going to do a review on it? And I was like, well, no, because I haven't seen
the rest.
Any of the Insidious movies, to which they basically crapped themselves and was like, what? You haven't seen Insidious? You haven't seen that? And that just stuck in the back of my brain. And here we are. So it's the movie that kind of spawned this whole idea. Yeah.
For you, yeah.
So we're going to cover Insidious. We watched Insidious. I finally got around after 13 years. This movie came out in 2010. Finally got around. We finally got around. Well, you've seen it before.
No, I've seen it. I just fell asleep in it.
So you can't technically say that you've seen it.
Well, I've seen half of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can just go around and watching half movies and then going like, yeah, I saw it. Half of it. Asterisk, half of it. What an asshole.
You're the asshole. You haven't seen it. It's been 13 years.
I never got, okay, so that's another thing we're going to cover in our shows is like why we haven't seen the movies and how we came back around to it. So the why I haven't seen it, or we haven't seen it, is that we fell asleep through the second half of the movie.
Did I watch it with you?
No, we weren't together.
No.
Yeah. Well, I was stalking you and you were watching and I was in the window and I fell asleep. I used to work long hours even back in 2010 and fell asleep. Never got around to watching it. And then, James Wan, the director, just pooped out a bunch of other ones, and I just never got around to watching it. And here we are. It was at the top of the list. Oh, and for our friend Siham, who's listening,
Sorry, Siham.
sorry, Siham. We just needed to get this one out, but there are a bunch of other Insidious installments in the whole franchise, and we will watch them with you if you're listening to the show. I hope you're listening to this.
You better.
Yeah, man. God damn it. But here we are. We've watched Insidious. A little bit about it is it came out in 2010, directed by James Wan, and you can't look at the Rotten Tomato score. I'm going to tell you that at the end.
Well, why do you have it in front of me?
Sorry. One of the things that I had wrote down to look up was the budget, because I'm going to kind of let the cat out of the bag. I thought it was an okay movie. I thought it was a so-so movie.
I thought The Conjuring was a little better than this one.
I thought The Conjuring was a lot better. And speaking of that, I didn't, I guess I don't know his name off the top of my head, so I can't point and go, that's a James Wan movie. That's a James Wan movie. But evidently the movies that he has been like, I don't know if the creator of, but at least the director of, is the Saw franchise.
He actually created the puppet, Billy.
Oh, really? Like he made it? So he created the Saw franchise, or directed the Saw franchise, the Conjuring franchise, which includes Annabelle and The Nun and the one we don't talk about, La Llorona, and Malignant, which I actually kind of like that movie for what it was. But he also did Megan. He was a director for Aquaman 1 and 2. Yeah. Mortal Kombat. I didn't know that. And one of the Fast and the Furious movies, Furious 7.
We don't talk about that one either.
Well, who gives a shit? I never seen any of the Fast and the Furious past Tokyo Drift. No, past the third one.
Oh.
Yeah. We covered that in the first
Yeah.
one. But yeah, so after watching this movie, because I didn't know what other movies he created, the first thing that came to my head was, is this his first horror movie? Because it felt like he was figuring things out. But then when I did the research and saw that he was the director of Saw, which came out in 7 years before that, in 2003, I was like, oh, wait a second.
Wait, that came out in 2003?
Dude, long time ago.
Oh.
A land far away. Saw came out in 2003.
I stopped watching Saw after, I think,
I fell off of those too.
the second.
Yeah, there are times I like, and I know that's kind of one of like the tropes of like horror movies. I don't know if that'd be the correct term, trope, but having multiple sequels is sort of part of it. But like, how do you keep track with all of those? It's tough.
I don't know.
We love horror movies.
Yeah.
We fucking love horror movies. But sometimes there are so many of them, and because horror movies have 5 installments, you just don't get around to watching all of them. You kind of just fall off of it.
Well, didn't we watch all the Conjuring ones?
I think we might have missed one.
Which one?
I don't know, because there's a lot of them. Which brings us back, thank you for that, is the first Conjuring is one of those movies that legitimately freaked me out. Did it freak you out?
Yeah, remember it was dark. I didn't want to go inside the house.
I know I remember. I'm just prompting you so that, you can go, oh yeah.
I just didn't want to go inside the house. I was afraid of the dark for a
The people
moment.
listening don't know our stories. They don't know this. We're letting them in.
So I didn't want to go into the house because it was dark.
Yeah.
I was afraid for 10 minutes about the dark.
And that was the night you revealed to me that you're part of a brujeria family.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so Insidious came out in 2010, and then The Conjuring came out 3 years later in 2013. That's enough time for him to have like figured it out, right? But even that being said, like he came out with the first Saw, and so much time had passed that after watching this movie, Insidious, there were so many things about it that it felt like he was trying to figure it out. And like there were some parts where I was like, am I supposed to chuckle?
Okay, so I had the same thing
Right.
there. Some of the angles, I'm just like, am I laying down watching this right now? A certain angle, like it just didn't seem. I don't know how to say it.
Because everyone that I spoke with who discovered that I haven't seen any of the Insidious movies reacted with you haven't seen that, and
Mhm.
it I'm like, oh, everyone else likes it, which means that I'm gonna like it. So I expected to like it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
It wasn't the Fantastic Four reboot. That's for sure.
We don't talk about that.
I don't talk about that.
I try not to talk about that.
Yeah, no.
And we won't go into it. We don't have enough. We don't have all the time in the world. We're going to bore people.
Okay, going back to Insidious.
Going back to Insidious. I was expecting to like it. And I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it right out the gate because having loved so many other horror films, I was expecting to be like majorly creeped out, like The Conjuring. So to his credit, I mean, he figured it out 3 years later with The Conjuring, because that movie, in my eyes, is a very perfect creepy movie.
There was 2 directors for The Conjuring, though.
Ha! So going through his list of movies, all the ones that I mentioned before, like the Aquaman and Mortal Kombat, I feel like his movies are kind of like a hit and miss. I wouldn't say that they're all terribly terrible, but except for The Nuns. God, I'm sorry. Come at me, people.
Okay, so I don't know if the rest of the Insidious franchise gets better. Maybe sometimes you just have a flop, but because we only just watched the first one, we don't really know about the other ones.
Okay, so then on that note, it's the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's how many in the franchise?
I don't know.
So usually the way that it works is the first one is so amazing that they make more.
The vibe it gave me was what was it, like The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
Yeah.
Gave me like kind of like that,
Well,
but like Insidious-y.
Well, it came out in that era. Much to his credit. Again, I didn't hate the movie, so much to his credit, there were a lot of things that I thought were actually creepy, like little ghost kids running around, or like old school piano musical stings. The opening of the movie with the Byrne and Insidious title.
Oh, that hurt my ears. Or Marilyn's favorite song.
I wanted to be creepy, dude. Okay, the Tiny Tim tiptoe through the tulips, which the song came out like in the later part of the movie, right? With the little creepy ghost kid.
It was kind of hinted in the beginning.
It was,
yeah,
a little bit. I was really expecting to be very creeped out by it because Marilyn, if you're listening to this, she gets scared anytime you hum it, sing it, play it, whatever.
I was dancing to that part.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but I was like,
it's a banger. This is
like,
the jam.
I'm like, this is fun. What's going to happen?
The ghost kid's like, this slaps.
Well, the little kid was dancing, so I think I just ended up joining him dancing. I don't know if he saw me, but I was like waving my arms side to side.
Yeah. So again, it was like built up. It was kind of built up, and I had a higher level of expectation. That being said, there were parts I appreciated about it, as far as like, I like the camera movements.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain scenes where they used like a wide angle lens, which people kind of call fisheye lens.
Was that one more towards like the exterior shots of the house?
Sometimes they used it for that. They used it when she was in bed and she gets waken up by that one ghost that looks like Johnny Depp.
Oh my! Okay, yeah.
And I know we're jumping ahead, but again, like I said in the previous episode, the change up. This isn't a show where we're gonna like chronologically go through. We're gonna bounce around because ADHD.
I did like how he did have his name on the chalkboard, and he had the
James Wan had his name on the chalkboard.
On the chalkboard. There's a scene where he had his name on the chalkboard in the movie, and then he also had
Jigsaw in the bottom.
Yeah, there you go.
Jigsaw.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a random unnecessary Easter egg.
And I didn't know that he did Saw until we looked up.
Well, I think that was a hint.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw that pop up as the Easter egg, I'm like, I bet he did Saw.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't remember. I was like questioning the whole time, like, did he do Saw? But then I had to stop myself because then I would fixate on that thought.
Again, much to his credit, it felt like its own movie.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of things. I started writing down some of like the horror tropes. And there were times that even though I knew that it was one of the horror tropes, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
One of those tropes was someone's knocking at the door.
Why would you open the door?
White people things.
It's a white people thing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else would do that.
And he's running around with like a fireplace iron.
Oh, and he didn't even have any. He was walking around the house in his underwear and his freaking shirt, barefoot. No no like weapon before opening the door. Why?
But after he closed it and then he hit the security code, it then became creepy when the door was like left open afterwards. I was like,
When the alarm went off again?
yeah, because like as a man, you know, you feel responsible. You feel like the protector of the house, and it felt very vulnerable. Also, that house, it's in LA somewhere.
Oh yeah, I have the address.
Yeah, those old houses have like their own personality. So I think it was a smart choice to use those houses because they also have like they're not necessarily double doors, but it's like an extra big door.
It's kind of like a modern Victorian house in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like having that big door open, it felt even more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that whole thing of like stepping outside, of like, I'm not cracking. Even though, okay, much to his credit, he opened the door, he peeked his head out, and then that was it. But I'm like, that's how they get you.
No. Anyone knows you hear something, you just keep staying in bed and just forget it. Just don't even get out of bed. Just stay there, pretend nobody's home. You're fine. You're good. Cover your head.
Another trope that actually kind of worked more for like the storytelling aspect was the typical skeptical dad.
Oh my God. Okay. Was it just me or was he like very gaslighty with her? Like, I believe you, but I don't know.
Very gaslighty. Also, why was he staying till like 10 o'clock at night at the school?
I don't know if he was like tired from being at home. Remember at that point, like his kid was already in a coma.
Was he just avoiding?
I think he was. He didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those dads.
Because like the home life seemed as hectic as like any home life with kids would be, but it looked like a working family.
It did, but if in the beginning, if you kind of saw when they moved into the house, he was kind of like the last one to be downstairs. The kids were already downstairs. The baby was already crying. She's basically like trying to do it all on her own, trying to call, I don't even know, electric company or whatever to like set up their stuff. And the baby was crying in the background and he was nowhere to be seen but upstairs brushing his teeth very slowly. So very white dad move.
Well, he was also very vain.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
That eye cream. What kind of eye cream is that? I really want to know.
I don't know what it was supposed to do as far as like, you know, informing his character, like him being vain.
It was supposed to be like he's the very vain, very.
How old were they supposed to be, by the way? Because they're in the beginning of the movie, Rose Byrne. By the way, I forgot to mention it's starring Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, which Patrick Wilson then comes back a couple of years later in The Conjuring.
Oh, yeah.
As,
Warren. Ed Warren.
Yeah, Rose Byrne's sitting with her kid, and they're looking through the photo album. Also, who has photo albums anymore past a certain age?
Well, you do also have to think it's 2010, so it's starting the whole. You're creeping now into technology.
Yeah.
So those adults at that age still have those photo albums.
So I guess that also would be considered another horror movie trope, whereas you look through the photo album, right? Do you think that if they were to make a horror movie today, which they do make horror movies today, but if they were to do like a looking through the photo album thing, it wouldn't be through like a physical photo album if you're a character in like their 30s?
No, I think the only time I think that would happen is like if the grandparents passed away or their parents passed away and they have to look through.
You'd be scroll, but if it's like people our age today,
they'd be scrolling
through something. So she's sitting there with her kid, and then they don't really establish their age. The kid goes, she says to the kid, "Oh, yeah, I was a kid once," and he goes like, "Well, how old are you now?" Or she asks him,
"How old do you think I am?"
How old do you think I am? And he says, "I don't know. Old. Well, how old? 21." Stupid kid.
I think she's like in the movie, I'm going to go ahead and say maybe early 30s.
I was going to say mid 30s. The kid's acting, it wasn't bad. I'll kind of group this all together. The only people that were the good actors were the leads, Rose Byrne, Patrick Wilson, and then the sidekick later on, Elise. I don't remember the actress's name. And that was it. Everybody else, the Geek Squad guys that come in later, the fucking doctor that like is just very dismissive and then runs off.
I was like, General Hospital, what happened?
Everyone else's acting sucked. It was terrible. And so it felt like comical in a certain way.
Yeah, I think that's what took away from it.
A lot.
I,
A lot.
I think if maybe they either got other people or maybe trained, like told, I don't know how
I
to
think
really
money
word it.
might have played a part into it. So the budget for this movie was $1.5 million, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Which is also surprising because he did the Saw movies. And there was a couple of other Saw movies that came out before this movie came out.
But I wonder how much those Saw movies were before that he got a bigger budget.
But still, like you get a small budget. Usually you get a small budget like that if you're like an up and coming director.
Mm-hmm.
But he had already come out with like a handful of movies, and I don't know, it was a tiny budget, and then later, I think got like 100 million. Like it grossed 100 million, which also in today's standards like really isn't much. But considering that the budget was 1.5 million, so that could be why they decided to go with like smaller, unknown actors for bit parts, even like the nurse.
Oh my God, the nurse.
Okay, so that was the other thing too. It's like the dialogue wasn't strong, the writing wasn't strong. The lead actors were, so they sold the shit out of the lines as best that they could. But even that being said, like there's some scenes like when he comes home, when Patrick Wilson, the dad, comes home late.
Josh.
When Josh
Mhm.
comes home late, and she's sitting there on the steps, and they have this like back and forth, and it just falls flat because the writing it doesn't lend to their character.
Mm-mm. Well, what you said this one, the budget was like what, 1.5?
Mm-hmm.
Saw was 1.2.
And I can see why that one took off because it just
1.2 million.
Yeah, but I can see that why that one took off as far as like a franchise. Insidious, this one, it was trying to world build, and it did with the whole, the Further and the Traveler, and am I missing anything else?
The Darth Maul looking dude.
The guy with the fire face. And I'm excited to see the other movies, but as far like you can't look at it like that because this is just the standalone movie, the first movie.
Before, yeah.
It didn't jump out to me. In the first act of like them setting up, like, they're in the house and maybe there's ghosts. They tried to build these characters up. But once like shit started to go down, once like Patrick Wilson was kind of giving in to believing what was going on, then it got really interesting. And then I was like, there you go. Now they figured out what this movie was going to be. But the whole first part, I could have done not do without because you still need to build the characters up. But the way that they like, for instance, the way that they time jumped the 3 months later, or not even that, the kid doesn't wake up. Dalton doesn't wake up, right? He's trying to wake him up to go to school. Smash cut, they're in the hospital. I want to see some like emotional lead up to like them freaking out. And
also, why didn't they freak out more when he fell the first time?
Oh my God.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
I have a problem with their reaction.
I would think as a parent, your kid falls off a ladder, bangs up his head, can't even walk.
They did when they heard him scream, they freaked out.
Yeah.
And they ran up, right? You hear kids scream, like, we have nieces and nephews and we lived with them for a period of time. And anytime any of them like scream, you fucking jump off whatever you're doing. You could be, on the shitter, your pants half down your knees.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I get
And
that.
you're going to get, and so they had that reaction down.
Well, they had the initial reaction, but he couldn't, he had to get carried away because he couldn't walk down the stairs. He couldn't stand up. Why then wouldn't you want to create more of a panic there? Instead, you just tuck him into bed and just be like, you're fine. Like a regular, like, you're.
I thought they were just being parents and just carrying him off and coddling him.
No, because he goes, oh, can you stand up? And he goes, oh.
Oh, probably because he was dizzy. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, my legs don't work.
Yeah, but even if you hit your head and you say you're dizzy, it's just like you kind of hit your head pretty hard.
It's
you were up the ladder.
But you have to agree though, like, because now we're talking about horror films, right? It's the horror films are sort of that genre where you, for most of them, you go, okay, it's a horror film. These things have to happen in order for the horror to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to suspend, and I'm going to overuse this fucking term because I used it in the last episode, but you have to suspend disbelief. That being said, you still go, it would have been nicer if they sort of like made it a little bit more organic, but their reactions throughout the entire film were like lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many other films Rose Byrne has been a part of prior to that. Same thing with Patrick Wilson, but we know them to be the great actors that they are today. That being said, it just, I mean, it could have also been the director.
I kind of believe Rose Byrne's character a little bit more when she's like, kind of more paranoid, walking around, hearing things with baby monitor, um, seeing the Johnny Depp looking dude.
Okay, so
She was more believable when it came to those parts, but I felt like there was a little bit of lack of chemistry
I could see that. I
with
mean,
that.
she did when, which was okay. The parts that were creepy is she's playing the piano, and did she really play? I don't know if she really plays.
I don't know if she really played.
I saw the finger movements, like that looks like real piano playing. But when she hears the noise, the voice on the baby monitor, which is a kind of a typical trope, but it worked. And they hear the whispers, and then she goes and to near the
The
stairs.
scream though at the end.
Right. Well, jump ahead, and then he hears the voice, and then hears it scream. That worked because it's the contrast of like from quiet to loud. And was it in that scene she goes up, she sees someone behind?
Yeah, she.
No, she doesn't. She goes and she looks throughout, and there's nothing to be seen. It's like a later part of the movie she sees someone through the veil, and those things worked, right? Those things those moments that you don't expect, right? Like the non-typical jump scare, which I'm glad this movie didn't have a lot of. You close the door, you bend down, and then you get up, and there's the thing. They didn't do a lot of that. There was like one jump scare
That got
later on
you.
that actually got me. It was way later on.
It was when the movie was picking up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was when it was picking up. But as far as like the ghosts that you see here and there,
Mm-hmm.
the one that did work, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree with this, is when you first see that Fireface guy, Darth Maul, behind Patrick Wilson when his mom is visiting after.
Oh yeah.
It's after they move.
Yeah, it's after they move. It's the first day, I think, when she actually goes like, no, I believe her. And I'm like, oh, somebody believes her. Finally, somebody believes her.
Yeah.
And that one, it didn't get me, but I'm just like, ooh, that was good.
It worked because in horror films, don't show your monster fully right away. Build up to it. Show glimpses, shadows, noises, blur, little things like that. So when they did later on finally show the Fireface guy fully, like there was a part where he was like a figure and he pointing to the
like
kid.
A shadow,
yeah, and it worked. You want to keep
that was amazing.
Keep the horror hidden. Let your imagination for the most part, like kind of fill in the blanks.
And his handprints, like the bloody handprints.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay.
I thought that worked, but like later on, because now I have this, I had this idea of who the Fireface guy is, like this like creepy, malevolent creature. And then later on, when they're in the red room, past the red door, and he's like sharpening his claws, his metal claws. I was like, wait, he has metal claws? And then he kind of has more of like a jovial personality. That threw me off.
Well, that's when the music was playing? No.
Oh, what music was playing?
He had Tiptoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was when the full song kind of started playing. Because he was sharpening. He was kind of getting ready to like do something.
And I know that I might learn about this guy, this character, this entity in the later films. But as far as like the film that's there, you create this idea of who this guy is, right? This like shadowy creature. And then later on, he's on the grind wheel and sharpening his nails.
Okay.
Not his nails, sorry, the metal claws.
Metal claws. Okay, but let's go ahead and rewind because we're going to focus on the grandma because she was glimpsed at in the beginning. And I'm just like, well, I thought the grandma was supposed to be the whole like grandma spirit, whatever thing.
Oh, the old lady wasn't grandma, but it was an old lady.
I call her. She looked like a freaking grandma. Yeah. A little Polish grandma.
And that was like in the opening credits. You first see the creepy lady, and it worked. And as far as like the look of the ghost, I think it worked because they have like a plasticky face and like the black and white kind of look. I think that it worked for the most part. At certain parts, it got a little silly, like when they moved and it's all jolty. But when they're just like not moving, just staying there.
Oh yeah,
it works. That was the other thing. Less is more. And in the later parts of the film, it worked. The whole less is more. You don't have to have this, pageantry of special effects or whatnot. Also, the budget didn't allow for it.
You got to do what you got to do.
I want to go back for a second
Okay.
with the setting, right? One of the things was the attics.
Okay.
To me, attics aren't creepy. Like, I work in pest control. I'm in attics all the time. Not creepy to me. But you, during that scene, you're all,
No way.
When's the last time you think you've been in an attic? Because I remember my first couple of times, and it is creepy, but you do it so many times, you just get used to it.
I don't think I've ever been in an attic.
When's the last time you've been in a creepy house? Because you have had some experiences.
Your uncle's house when we went over to Victorville?
Yeah.
It was just the lights off. It just gave me vibes.
You ever been in a haunted house?
Yeah.
Stories?
I know I've been in a haunted house. And not just one that's for Halloween. It was a house. I don't remember where, but I do remember we went to this house and it was like someone was maintaining it. We went a couple times, multiple times within like, I think a month and a half or so. And then the last time we went to go visit this house, it looked like no one has taken care of this house for years. And it's just very rare for a house to go from it looking like it's being taken care of very well to maybe like a week or two later to having like accumulated years of dust. And then the neighbor, I guess, who lived, I'm not sure if they lived in the same street or something, but they're like, yeah, that person hasn't lived in that house for so and so years. They passed away so many years ago.
But did it feel creepy?
Oh yeah, like after we knew that, I was
eyes are watching you.
No, after we found that out, I was like, oh, that is very creepy. That is very unsettling. Let's just go.
As far as creepy houses, nothing beats allegedly servicing the American Horror Story murder house.
Oh yeah, allegedly.
Now, like as you know, a kid, you go to grandparents' house, you go to cousin's house, and somebody always has like a creepy house, creepy hallway, clowns. But after doing this really creepy house, and by the way, at the time I was starting to listen to the No Sleep podcast, which is a horror podcast, is fantastic. And as I'm doing this uber creepy house, nothing beats that. Talk about like settings. And speaking of settings, again, they chose a good house to shoot this movie in. And although they wanted you to think like, oh, it's a haunted house, right? Which is The Conjuring later on, but they want you to think that, and then they make the smart move to move, and they do, and I'm like, yes, the smartest decision. And even though like the dad didn't believe the wife, he humored her.
Oh my God,
was still gaslighting her.
Yeah,
and they moved, and you're like, yes, and the light, the color palette, the cinematography was used pretty well. Because in all like when stuff was uneasy, the color was like a little colder and flatter. And then when they moved, there's more greens, there's more blues, and then when shit goes back down again,
it went back to like
back to cold. So that I like the way that they use that. Again, less is more. That's how you should make movies.
Definitely.
Your cinematography, your lighting, your color, your angles should all inform the movie. So like he figured that stuff out. It was the thing that just wasn't strong was the actual writing itself and the dialogue. And I feel like this movie could have been so much better if the dialogue was there. They didn't make it feel like I'm watching like a Hallmark horror film at times.
I wouldn't mind watching the remainder of the movies in this franchise.
And I'm excited to check them out. So again, later on in the movie, finally like shit picks up. They've built on the lore, and now you're in it. At least the sidekick comes over, and I forget the actress's name, but she didn't overdo it and she sold it perfectly. So her and the two other leads like are the thing that grounded this movie enough to make me want to watch more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that she was like whispering to, one of the Geek Squad Ghost Hunter guys.
Through that hose mask.
No, before that, when he's sketching stuff out, that
Oh.
was an intense scene.
The first time she encounters
Fireface guy.
Yeah, but
Darth
it was
Maul.
just like the shadow of him.
No. Yeah, she didn't see the shadow of him yet. She's looking up above Dalton's bed, up in the corner of the room. You don't see anything. The room, it's dark, it's shadowed, but there's no shadowy figure. She's just describing him to the guy, and he's sketching it out, and then she reveals the sketch, and it's the Fireface guy and a looming shadow.
But the lights were off for that scene.
Correct.
I swear we saw the same movie, but I think I just remember it differently.
No, you're thinking about later on when they were like having the seance, and then she puts a gas mask on, which I still think was the fucking weirdest thing.
No, because in the when she first sees him, it seems that she asked him like, "What do you want?" And you see that hand go out and points at the boy.
That wasn't the psychic. That was the mom. The mom had a dream.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Never
Which led me
ADHD.
ADHD. Which led me to ask the question of why was the mom sensitive to it?
So before it was revealed that she went through something similar, it kind of seemed that she was hiding something. Especially when she goes, "Oh, I can't believe you got him to stand still for a picture."
Yeah, the musical sting.
And then I'm just like,
ominous.
"Oh, I get it. All right. So this has to be something that's kind of following him."
But then when they built on that, when they built on that lore, they didn't explain that the mom was like sensitive or a psychic. It was just Elise who was a psychic. The mom knew Elise from years ago when, big reveal, the dad,
Josh.
No, I'm not thinking of his name. When the dad as a kid was having issues, night terrors, she explained it, right? And the lore that they built on that was that Dalton, the son, is a traveler. He can astral project. And that the dad, Josh, Patrick Wilson,
as well,
could also do that, but he had forgotten. So the lore that they built up was when you astral project, because you're a living thing and now you're an empty vessel, as you're exploring as an astral projection, all the ghosts, all the spirits are like, ooh, an empty
free body.
Ooh,
I'm going to go inside of it.
Free body.
Hey.
And so they're attracted to it like moths to a flame. And one particular spirit, the old creepy lady in the beginning of the movie, which was, again, the makeup and everything was like pretty well done. Simple, less is more. Was really took a liking to him. And and then when the mom showed the photos of Patrick Wilson, Josh as a kid, and at first you see a blur in the windshield of the ghost lady, and then it became like real bad Photoshop. I was like, it doesn't work. It's creepy, but it doesn't work because it looks so forced. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's your opinion. It sucks.
As Jermaine would say, you're trash. That's trash.
No, I don't think she was sensitive to it. I think the mother-in-law,
his mom.
His mom, yeah. Because she went through something like this, it was more believable that something's happening again. So it wasn't that she was sensitive, it's that she knew the signs of something that was happening.
No. So she experienced. So she never saw a spirit or a ghost or any kind of premonitions when he was a kid. She took the photos, and that's why he didn't like to take photos as an adult, right? They commented on that nice little plant, and then they kind of brought it up. It was used later on. Also hinted at the kid Dalton, like, oh, you finally had him to settle down to take a picture. The ghost lady was the only encounter as far as spirit, but it was only seen through the photos. And then he forgets about astral projecting, can't do it. Years later, has a kid. And when they move, the mom then tells both of them, I had a dream that I came over, and then I walked down the hall and I went into Dalton's room, and there was a figure.
Well, if you also remember, Josh also had a dream, or actually, he was kind of having those visions because those times that he would rub his eyes, it kind of went back.
To his childhood.
Yeah. So I don't, I think it was just something similar to that. It wasn't really that. But the only reason he blocked out those memories is because the mom's friend made him, I don't know, like, what would it be? Like a trance? No, it wouldn't be a trance.
No, she didn't do any of that. Oh, I forgot what
But they did block the memory from him. She said we had to block that memory so you wouldn't remember.
I don't think they actually. No, I'll have to go back and check it out. But I don't think they actually did anything to, like, any kind of, voodoo, juju, magic.
No, I'm talking about like
they
hypnosis.
never brought. Did they do hypnosis?
Not to the little kid, but it wasn't really said about the dad.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they didn't really say. They just said, like, I had to make you, like, make sure that you repress
repressed.
Yeah, repress that memory so you would sleep at night. You wouldn't have night terrors. So I'm just going to go that they hypnotized
They
him.
let him forget.
Yeah.
The mom tells him about the dream about going into the house and then seeing the spirit. So still she hadn't seen anything, but now she has premonitions about what's going on. And nobody knows about any of the other spirits and stuff. And then after she's done telling them, she looks at Josh, and behind him is then the dark entity, the fireface guy. Now that's the first time she actually saw something. Nobody else is actually able to see anything other than Elise later on when she goes into the room and then looks up, and you don't see anything, but she's describing it.
Okay. I think we're just going to go around in circles. We're just going to move on.
What was the point you're trying to make?
The point that I was trying to make is that Dalton's mom also had a dream. That's why she woke up in the middle of the night screaming, and she saw someone in her room. I don't remember if it was a Johnny Depp looking dude or not. And then I'm just like, so I think it just has to deal with, if your child is dealing with something like this, then now you are more susceptible to spot these things. That's what my point was. And that's why it's like a repetitive thing. Josh had it, the mom. Then later on was like, this is it. Then she had a dream. Then this mom, Dalton's mom, she didn't know what was going on with the kid. But, then she had that nightmare. Then she was more like, shit is happening. So she had to be seeing things. So I think it's just like a very repetitive. Yeah, like a very repetitive maternal instinct.
Dude.
I don't know.
Now I'm like excited to see the other movies because I want to see if that is actually like a theory that they follow through on. And if not,
it's a missed opportunity.
It's a missed chance.
Should talk to me, James Wan.
Talk to me, James Wan. What would you do if you astral projected? Because it was established that the kid didn't know that he was astral projecting. He was like, he had drawings about him flying and stuff like that and watching himself sleep. But like, if you knew that you could astral project, I would fucking freak out.
I would probably think that I'm disassociating from my life and think that it's normal.
Or just a dream.
Yeah, or completely think that it's normal just because of the things that I have encountered. But I think I would kind of be like weirdly okay with that. I don't think I would freak out. I would be more freaked out of how do I go back to my body?
Oh, I would fucking freak. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my thing. Be like, I'm bored. Let me go do something else.
So now we're nearing the end of the movie. Right. And at the third act, you have to have a showdown, and so they did. The dad goes into the trance. He now remembered he can do it, and easily goes into the trance, and is wandering around. And again, the whole less is more. Right? There's no big musical sting. There's no score. It's just silence. It's darkness, and that lamp, the cold, bluish gray light of the lamp. And I thought that worked very, very well. So I'm excited to see that in the later movies. And you and I both started fucking laughing when he had the showdown with the Johnny Depp ghost in front of the red door. Okay.
So at that point, that ghost turned into Johnny Depp and oh my God, what is his name? From The Crow?
Oh, yeah, he looked like as if Johnny Depp was the Crow, like Brandon Lee.
Yeah, so it looked like they had a child together, and that's what the child turned out to be.
It didn't work for me.
I think that character had potential in a way. Maybe he gets brought back in the other movies, maybe not. But I feel like there is a story there with that one.
And same thing with the kid and the other ghosts in there. But it, like, you know, when you're thinking of it of just this movie alone,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work. It was silly. And then when Josh does the old like force push, you know, after he gets the courage after the whispering to his lifeless body.
I literally thought, I'm like, you're doing it to the wrong character, not the Darth Maul looking guy.
And then he finally goes into the red room,
Mm-hmm.
and
And by red room, it almost looked very much like a freaking sex dungeon.
yeah. So I'm like, wait, is this a demon? Is this a succubus?
Did we turn to 50 Shades of Grey here, or what's going
Ew.
on?
And then you finally see Darth Maul in all of his glory, and he's sharpening his claws, and it's a little silly. The angles that they used for that, like, it wasn't working well because, again, you switch gears. You go from like having this like dark, creepy, ominous creature, and then to like almost a Freddy Krueger, Jeepers Creeper kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so different. I'm like, oh, okay, now here's the reveal. To kind of have the showdown.
But I kind of did like the fighting part of it.
Did you really?
I did. I did. Just because I was like, okay, he has potential. He has potential here.
I did like, when he's chasing him throughout the hall, throughout the house, going back into trying to find his own body. And then when, you never separate in a fucking movie when the dad and the kid separate.
Remember, white people stuff.
Fucking white people shit. And I do like when he was like, the red-faced guy was like crawling along the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird that the effect was a little bit jolty and weird, but I think it kind of worked as far as like it being creepy.
I think it would have worked if it wasn't in his realm. If the fighting was more away from that red room, I think it would have been creepier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that fighting in it didn't really. I was like, okay, it has potential, but when they move on, then I was like, that is creepy because it looks more real. It has like a bed, and they're on the like the parent, like the mom, and the other ones are like, you can basically see them. They're just like another other side of the veil kind of thing, and it just made it more believable than the red room.
Yeah. So I'm glad that they didn't spend a lot of time in the red room because it was really fucking killing it for me. It became like a little bit of a cheesy showdown. So then when they're running back and they're dealing with the whole crowd of ghosts, that became eerie and that became creepy, and I enjoyed that. I skipped over when Josh is looking for the kid and he encounters those ghosts that are just like not moving.
Oh, the creepy, very dull, like 1950s.
Yeah, and yet
that was the best.
What I liked, the effect that I liked was that it was sort of like a freeze frame in time, and it told a story. You would hear a sound, all the sound effects of like the gunshot and stuff, and then you would just see the dead.
And I was thinking, I was like, is this what happened in this house years ago?
I think so.
And I think when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's going down, like it's gonna start getting good.
But then you fast forward. So they're trying to run back to their new house, and then the Geek Squad guys and Elise and everyone else is now dealing with the ghosts that are trying to hone in on Patrick Wilson, Josh's body. And instead of it feeling like ghosts are trying to come in, it felt like a fucking zombie movie. Like they were too corporeal, would be the word.
Yeah. I don't know the rules that would be. I don't know. Again, I was already like, all right, we're starting to like this movie, so I kind of liked it.
But that's what I'm saying. It was like hit and miss. Like I liked the ghost, but I didn't like that there was like a whole crowd of them moving on in. The house was shaking. I guess you need to have that for like more intensity.
Yeah.
And then of course when you separate, shit happens. And he re-encounters the ghost lady.
The grandma.
Is it his grandma? It's not his grandma, but it's just an old lady. You're calling it the grandma.
I'm just calling her grandma. Her babushka.
And You kind of know where it's going to go. And finally, everyone's back in their respective bodies. And you think
Or
it's
so we think.
so we think, because in any horror movie, you never completely close out the story.
Mm-mm.
You leave it open-ended, and Elise sees something, but you don't exactly see it just yet. And Josh is possessed by the old lady grandma.
The grandma.
And then she tries to take a picture, and he freaks out, gets angry, and then chokes her. Are they in a sound-treated house? Why the fuck?
I think at that point it's when the supernatural kind of they made it kind of supernaturally in a way where it didn't seem like she was in the real world, but more like
She who?
like the grandma. Like it seemed like at that moment she took her to like the other side, but like the further.
To kill her?
Yeah, because they couldn't hear it and she was screaming and the color kind of changed on the screen a little bit.
Interesting. I thought that that was just to like kind of sell the moment.
No, because then that's when it's revealed that it was the old lady that was saying, I am going to rip your intestines out.
Interesting.
At that point, I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Kind of takes her a little bit into her realm and then kills her, but it's actually Josh killing her. And then he just vanishes. And that's what made it more like, all right, yeah, he vanished. He's not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still not on board with that one, though.
Okay.
With that theory.
But that is your opinion.
No, of course. I mean, all of this shit's just our opinion. And I would love for that to be like the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I was still like laying in here, and I don't know. It's one of those things where if they're going to do that, where like she got brought in, it would need to be kind of spelled out a little more.
I think that's when you kind of have to pay attention to. It's just one of those things where I will let you know something happened. Like, oh, you missed that or something.
All right. I'm on board with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that concludes that movie. And, they leave it open-ended where the mom comes in and like, is everything okay? And they find Elise dead. And, they're looking for Josh.
They found her dead and they're looking for him and he's nowhere to be found.
No, doesn't he say something and then they turn to him and then it cuts to black?
I don't remember that part.
We just watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
We have terrible, terrible memories.
Well, I remember everything but that part.
And that's it. That's Insidious. So after, as we're watching it, I'm like, I kind of like it. I kind of don't. I like these parts. I hate these parts. I love these parts. Overall, what would you have got if you were to give it a Rotten Tomatoes score? What would you give this movie?
I would give it a 74.
Okay. Is that what you think the Rotten Tomatoes score or audience score was?
I think maybe audience score was similar or somewhere near that. Maybe Rotten Tomatoes was a little bit lower than that.
Oh.
Did it have those mixed up?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, check this out. Rotten Tomatoes score gives it a 67%, which is about where I was thinking of the movie. So it's not 67% isn't fresh. I think 70% would be certified fresh.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just below that. And I agree with that score. Audience score was a 62%.
Ooh.
So it's rare that the audience score is lower than the Rotten Tomatoes score. But not that that's like the final unequivocal rating, but yeah.
Now I kind of want to watch the other ones to see what the
freaking I very much want to watch the other ones. And if Seaham, if you're listening to this, we got to schedule a fucking movie date, girl. All
right, girl.
Because I want to see the rest of these. I want to see how it plays out. I want to see how they build on the lore and how they play off of that lore. But finally, we got around to watching Insidious. Any last thoughts?
I would definitely rewatch it. Me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you would.
I think I would to see what I missed.
Okay.
And to see what you were talking about.
I would think I would rewatch it. Maybe just to kind of have a feel a little bit more of me just paying attention to the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe to see if I missed stuff. Other than that, I think that's good. What would you?
As far as what?
Like, would you rewatch it? Would you?
Yeah, no,
What would you rate it?
Oh, like no, I told you, like
Mhm.
I my own personal rating was around where Rotten Tomatoes score was rating it
Mm.
in like the mid 60s.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, see, the thing is, knowing that there are the other installments, like you have to watch this one. It's all built upon this one. And I haven't taken a peek because I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to look at what the other movies scored at.
And I think that's why I kind of gave it a 74 because I'm like, okay, if there's more, let me go ahead and give it like a good kind of score.
See, but I was trying to rate it just on the movie, this a standalone movie.
No. I rated it within just a standalone movie. And usually if I feel like the movie, there should be another movie, it should be at least in the 70s to continue to go into movie number 2. That's why I kind of rated it like that. But there goes my thoughts out the window.
ADHD.
ADHD.
Want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can find this movie on Amazon. You would have to rent it for $3.99. I'm sorry, you guys.
Worth it. Spooky season's coming up.
Unless you
we got to
already
get through
own
these
it.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
On DVD, you own it.
You know, some people do own shit on DVD, okay?
Old farts. Where can they find us, Elva?
You guys can find us on Forehead Films, FOREHED Films, and that's on Instagram. My Instagram is It's Elva.
And mine is Forehead FPV. That's my other thing. But I want you guys to focus more and have more interactions with us on Forehead Films, on Instagram.
And Insties.
On Insties. And Elva, your line out.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Please. And hit that notification bell to keep you updated on our shows to come.
And let us know what movies you haven't seen that we should add to our list.
Oh, please do. And now that we're in the spooky season, let us know what horror films you guys haven't seen so we can see if we've seen them or not. Talk to us. Like, I really want to start communicating with the people as far as movies and horror movies. Hit us up with the comments and the DMs. I want to know. I want to add to this list.
I may look scary, but I'm not scary, guys. I promise.
Hey, guys, listeners, can you come over? Elva, go away for a second. You guys, she's scary all the time. Help. Elva.
What are you doing?
Help. No. Oh, God. Thank you, guys, again for listening. Check us out. There's more to come. We're excited. Sorry for any background noises. We're trying to get the kinks out. We're figuring this out. We have more equipment to come. We're going to get this down. We're going to get it rolling. We're going to get our format and flow. But ADHD and bad memory gets in the way. We try to do this soon so that we would remember the movie. But 24 hours is too long.
I think I watched other movies within the 24 hours.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Check us out again on our socials. Rate and review. All the other stuff. I don't want to leave yet.
Why don't you want to leave?
I don't know. It's nice. I like the song.
Okay, just dance to the song like I'm doing.
All right, we're just going to jam and dance. Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.